Very good.
Tis what
Funny.
a friend sent me this article about the monk parakeets that are living in the park in Chicago, in the south side of Chicago. And I was just typing back to him. I said, I read about these parakeets maybe 20 years ago. And I looked at the article and it says 25 years. Always more years than I think that it goes back. They got loose and they've managed to survive outside in Chicago. I don't know whether that means they could make it here because the place, at least as I recall, the place where they were, it's all surrounded by large housing units, brick housing units. So they're kind of in a protected park, but and it's right on the lake. But wouldn't that be cool to see one of those? Steve and I did have a problem. We did have an issue one year. We had this bird coming to the feeder that I said, "What is that yellow bird out there?" And every time it showed up, we'd dash around with the book going, what bird are you? Are you some kind of warbler? We don't know. Turned out it was somebody's canary
Oh,
that had gotten loose, and whether they ever got it to go back, but he came to our feeder for a couple of weeks. Anybody got any questions? I don't know if Barb is here, but thank you, Barb, for telling me. Barb has already seen a boxwood tree moth out, and I've seen a mosquito. I saw a mosquito a month ago.
Yes.
It can happen. Just like people get upset about the, oh, they're crawling around in the house. The marmorated stink bugs are showing up inside, and some of them are in a place that had some more degrees of warmth than outside. They were inside your wall, they were underneath the aluminum siding, and they do come out earlier. But yeah, I was buzzed by a mosquito almost a month ago now. I remember thinking, that was a mosquito.
wow.
Yeah.
Arkansas has the most mosquitoes in the country. That's where I'm going tomorrow.
Where you're going to where the mosquitoes are thickest?
I looked it up. They have the most mosquitoes in the country in Arkansas.
Well, my son is on his way to Arkansas with the family. I
Yeah.
Is he going to the diamond mine?
no, they're going to Mirror Lake, some lake that they're going to dive off of the cliffs into the lake
Nice. Oh,
into
okay.
in a 60-degree water. I don't care if it's eight.
It's cold there now. I don't know what to pack. It's like in the 50s and
Oh no,
30.
this coming week there's a couple of 80-degree days coming up.
Yeah, but at night it's cold and who knows?
Wimp.
I'm not a wimp. No. I'm not. No, I've been walking sassy through this whole winter out to the park every day, no matter
Okay,
what. Yeah,
okay. I won't call you a wimp again.
thank you.
I would just take layers. I
Yeah,
I do that anyway. Just as many layers as I can get.
yeah. Just a hassle packing. That's
Yeah.
all. Oh, by the way, my son has black ants coming into his house,
Uh-huh.
and I thought it was from the big tree, the elm tree, but
Well,
I don't know.
the
Well,
trees don't foster ants,
yeah.
but and I think it was Alex Shigo, Deb, maybe you remember in the book, somebody proposed, and it looks like a pretty good theory, really, that the ants don't damage the trees. They get in and work their way through the rotted areas.
Right. They eat.
Yeah, and they actually let air flow through there so that there's less rot going on.
Hmm.
But they will travel up a tree, and people will say they can drop off the tree into your house,
Oh,
onto your house, and from there in. But this is the time of year when they might be looking around for places to expand into. I don't know what to tell you. Ant baits work, but they don't work. They don't. People seem to think, well, there, that took care of the ants, and where do these new ants come from? I thought I took care of the ants. There's a lot of ants out there. Not only different kinds of ants, but what did someone send me? I think it was they had sent an article that there's probably 4 quadrillion tons of ants in the world, and there are some places in the world that the the greatest mass of living things in that area is ants. And that's in jungles where they have panthers and elk and that kind of stuff going on. So ants can go a long way. There's an ant colony that they found or somebody studied in Japan. That's 65 connected ant colonies with something like 90 million ants in it, covering 7 square meters. So when I used to joke with Steve that I think we have one ant colony that starts in the front yard and extends all the way through the yard, and I think it could be, it could very well be. These guys are crazy. Barb sent in a note for people looking for bare root trees. Coldstream Farm offers bare root trees. And I did want to say that we've told people about Coldstream Farm before, but they are wholesale. So you're going to need to buy in quantities of 25 and 50 if you buy from them. You're buying inexpensively because you're buying a lot, because you're buying small items, bare root, but you do have to find somebody to plant all those things. Butterbird flowers coming up. There's so much going on out there already. There's so much going on out there outside. I feel sorry for people who are not going out and looking around. I tried to get my neighborhood gardening group together. We've been meeting on the last Thursday of the month for a few years. And we started in March before, but there were no takers this year. No. I think I sent out the note on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday, and the week didn't look too good. But Thursday actually ended up being a pretty nice day. Could have been outside, you guys. Gotta get out there to go there. Welcome everyone to Free4All Friday. Everybody's welcome. Anybody's welcome anytime. Tell people about it. We're celebrating growing. We're cultivating problem solving by talking to each other and expanding our knowledge of what the heck can happen out there in that garden. This is our 71st Free4All Friday. And we're coming to you from gardenatz.org. I'm Janet McConovich. Stephen Nicola is someplace soon.
I am here.
There he is. There he is.
There
Hey, Steve.
Hey. Howdy. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, and we don't garden for people anymore. We've retired from garden designing and planting and maintaining gardens for people. But we found when we retired that we can't really stay away from gardeners, from talking to people about what's going on in their garden. We spent so many years, 40 years, in and out of multiple gardens every week, seeing different things happening with the same plants that we saw in point A acting different in point B, etc.
Still can't get in, huh?
Yeah, that we decided we had to stay in touch with people. So we started our website, and we started that before we left, where we could put all the things that we've written and then build on them. You're welcome to use anything that's there. We'll show you a couple things we found this week that would maybe help some people out who sent us a question. And we've now got a Fridays page. So on our home screen, you can click Fridays. Got those little horizontal bars, and in the menu it'll be Friday, and on the Friday page there's the link. You can always go to it. Okay, getting ready to start our season 7 weekend walkabout. I am, if you could see off to this side over here, I am surrounded by stacks of books as I'm working on the weed pictures to go with Neil DeBole's talk about weeds. We're going to talk about weeds in larger areas than just the garden weeds that I talk about, and larger, tougher to control weeds. So if you haven't joined us for one of our webinars, you might want to give it a try. Coming up soon. I found one time when I cut daylilies back in the spring. I think I cut them back because I was moving them around, so I just chopped off the foliage. And I cut those that I moved, and I didn't cut the ones that were the same ones that didn't get moved. And later on in the summer, I found that the ones that I had not cut back and that had not moved got more leaf spot on them, all that, disreputable daylily leaves can look later in the summer. The ones that I had cut back in the spring looked cleaner. And there is a theory among some of the people who take care of gardens that because daylilies come up so early, sometimes quite pale because they're growing before there's even a lot of nitrogen available, the soil's still too cold, that the leaves are weak and get pinpoint infections early in the year that later on become worse. But if you cut them back and make them grow all new foliage, so you might want to try that. If your daylilies are particularly disreputable looking later in the year, and you do what I do, which is after they bloom, you just mow them down. I don't want to look at you at all. Maybe try mowing them down in the spring and let them come back up. Got a bunch of newspapers. I have a friend who keeps these for me. I call them gold, having newspapers to work with in the garden. And right now there's a stash up for grabs because I have enough newspapers, and Phyllis has got another 8 bundles, which Nancy, I think Nancy's not here today, but Nancy's hanging on to them for us. Um, uh, I can go get them for people. We can send people over to Nancy's to get them, whatever. But I use a lot of newspaper. Making a new bed here with newspaper, and now I'm putting mulch on top of it. We've written articles about how we do that, how we dig a trench along the outside edge and flip the sod that we took out of the trench into the middle so that we separate the colony outside from the inside, so that once we smother with paper and mulch, that these plants are not root connected to these plants, feeding them from the outside. Does that make sense? We're isolating the plants that are there. And in doing it, we use newspaper overlap by half. So this section is opened all the way out and overlapped by half with the section next to it, like roofing tiles. Probably the only drawback to using paper in the garden is that we tend to sit and read them. Wow, did you see this? Kathy says, I don't know. Teresa's laughing. The papers that we have from Phyllis are all Wall Street Journal and New York Times, which is why I consider them real gold. There's no ad sections in them. There's no slippery small sections in them, and they're great to use. So if anybody's doing any projects like this, it's a new bed we put in for a client. We've dug out around the outside edge, made our trench, but we also want to plant the shrubs now. We're going to plant the perennials later. So we've made a circle where we took out the sod, where each of the shrubs or trees go. And we're going to smother everything else and go ahead and plant the shrubs and trees right away. It all works.
It worked. Yep.
Yeah, it's a great bed. We won't show it to you now because that's beyond where we are now.
They've seen it too. A lot of people. Anyway.
We've been busy this week. Definitely been busy this week. We found forsythia starting to bloom already. This one's in Kalamazoo. We were over on the west side of the state to speak at a soil conservation district office. And by George, forsythia coming out already. It's a little bit earlier than I'm used to seeing them here. More of the things that are blooming are low to the ground, like the snowdrops. And I took a picture of these snowdrops to show you because a couple weeks ago, 2 Fridays ago, I showed you these snowdrops coming up. This is the snowdrop. They were both of these clumps of snowdrops. This is snowdrop clump B. This is snowdrop clump A. Both of these clumps were coming up, pushing up hats, and I was showing you pushing up hats. Oh. This one, I did not take the hat off. I left it on, and it pushed right up through it. There's all the leaves all around it came right up through, although it was pushing up a bubble. This one, you can see, here's the leaves that I pulled off the top. It also came up through. So this whole bit about, I have to take these off or I took the leaves off and suddenly everything popped up. Well, sure, it's going to pop up when the soil is warmer, but you don't need to do that. Find something more interesting to do than taking leaves off of gardens. I did take the leaves off of the hellebore a week or so ago. Was there something, Steve?
I was also going to say, if the leaves are like a thick leaf that still hasn't broken down and is wet, it's not even letting water go through, and we've seen that situation where they too much that didn't break down in an active soil, or am I wrong?
Well, especially if the drainage is bad, because oak leaves will do that. If the drainage is good and water's sitting on top of the oak leaves, they will mat down. And that's not a leaf problem, it's a drainage problem. But for the most part,
there are instances where you may have to remove the hats.
Yeah, we definitely I'll just reach over with a rake and knock them off, or I'll lift them with my hand. I did take the leaves off of the hellebores last week because they tend to look, I showed it to you last week, they look prettier without the last year's ragged leaves around them. But once I took them off and it was predicted that it was going to get cold, I stuck some pine boughs on to protect the buds. But now that the flowers are up, those pine boughs aren't protecting the buds anymore, they're up there. So I took the pine boughs out of there so we can enjoy just the flowers. And that was fun to do. You need to get out. You really do. If you haven't been out, go out. Just put on a few layers and just go walk around and look, because it's a turn of the season right now. The tide is turning, things are growing, and you can miss them. These lilac colored crocuses which multiply like nobody's business. I've never seen a crocus quite like this one. We get out into the grass and everything. But they're almost done. The later crocuses are coming up now, but you can miss things real easily. And this is the time of year when I tell the kids, I said, you can actually see your topiary. See, we got our bee and our butterfly and our ladybug out there. You can see what's going on this time of year. I am raking the lawn. I kicked myself on Thursday. 'Cause
Yep.
I was out all morning, and I came in for lunch and thought, okay, I'm going to start raking. And I looked out and it started raining. I went, oh, I hate raking wet stuff. So I went out this morning, and now I'm raking frozen stuff because the stuff that was laying on the grass was wet and got pretty cold overnight. It was 25 degrees out there. I knew it was cold. It wasn't too cold to make me go back in, but I didn't realize it was 25 degrees till I came in. But you can do this stuff. You keep yourself warm working on these things. And yesterday or day before, I was picking up branches with my granddaughter over at their house, and she showed me the way to work a wheelbarrow. Of course, you've got to be able to ride a Segway. Steve and I, not really about to learn how to ride a Segway. But yep, she wheelbarrowed around every time we moved to another place to pick up sticks. That wheelbarrow went zipping back and forth again. If you ride a Segway, maybe that's what you do.
If she didn't run around so much, that would be forbidden.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very active, I think.
Yeah. We got our blue branch. I took it off of its post and took it into the garage, let it dry out, and started painting it again. And so we repainted it, and I put it back again. Some of you may remember that I've got a rod drilled through the trunk. The trunk is right here, drilled through the trunk and extends down into this pipe to hold it up there. Well, a branch loaded with ice during one of the ice storms landed on this and bent that rod. So this was sitting more as a hat up on top rather than. So I took it out, put a new rod in it, painted it, and put it back in again. And I was working very hard to get that done this week, because in order to put it back, I have to walk all over in here to get it
And
back.
everything's coming up.
And things are coming up, and they will pop out of the ground in no time at all. Plus, once I took this out of here and I cut out the lilacs that were sick back over here, the birds that come to our feeder, right here, the feeder that Steve sees out his office window, the birds didn't have their usual places to perch and check out the territory ahead of time, and we weren't getting as many birds, so I had to quickly get this back up for the sake of the birds. And I'm doing edging because once it got a little bit wet again, I don't want to be walking on the beds any more than I have to until that water drains out. And edging is going to take care of a lot. And it looks so much nicer when you edge. Just cleaner. No question, Steve?
Yeah. Jocelyn says my leaves are fairly big on top, so I moved them a bit. My mulch is pretty thick. So it was just a comment.
Yeah, but if you've got more than a couple of inches of mulch on a bed, that's probably too much mulch for a regular maintenance to maintain that level. I put on a thick coat of leaves. I think they were 5-6 inches deep in the fall, but our soil's pretty active, and those break down by sometime in the spring. But if your mulch is building up and you've got more than a couple inches of mulch, then you might need to switch the type of mulch that you've got, aerate it more, or maybe you've just got a new garden that the soil isn't working for you yet. There's not enough life in the soil to break that stuff down so quickly.
And Judith is wondering, can you prune Ido peonies ground?
Yep, you sure can. Ido peonies have buds on the wood, and that scares people because they figure, oh, I'm cutting off all the buds. You cut them to the ground, they still come up, they still bloom wonderfully. They're great plants. They have all that hybrid vigor and beautiful colors that we couldn't get in the traditional herbaceous peonies from the tree peony genes. You don't have to cut them down, but because they do have the herbaceous peony genes in them, they are a little more susceptible to botrytis than the tree peonies are, And so you probably want to keep cutting them so that you've got fresher wood, newer wood that's not been infected from a previous year.
Suzanne says she did a hard cut on her blue willows.
Uh,
Some of the branches were an inch in diameter, worried about their recovery.
well, that's what gardeners are for. We're here to worry about our plants. We're here to make the plants feel like they've got some control over us. I wouldn't worry about them if the willow was healthy. I've cut willows. Our dappled willows out here. The stump was about as big around as my leg. I'm cutting you, but I've definitely cut the Arctic blue willows and the dwarf Arctic blue willows down repeatedly with trunks about as big around as pool cues, and no
Okay.
problem.
Did you have something to say, Suzanne? I see your microphone is on.
Yeah, no, I did cut one down at the suggestion of my former gardener. I cut it all the way down and, and it died. So I just worried that too much, sometimes you get too much
Well,
food waste.
if something dies, a woody plant dies because you cut it back, it's not because you cut it back. It's because the plant itself, there was something not right about where the plant was. People will say, I cut my butterfly bush back and it died. No, drainage will kill it. Well, winter will kill it. Sometimes the variety will kill it. But the willows, they need to be in the sun with lots of water to be at their best. They can handle a regular garden without a lot of water as long as they've got plenty of sun. They can handle some shade as long as they got plenty of water. But sometimes they just don't have everything. I took a willow out of the ground at another Sue's house, Sue Leach's house. I said, "Why is this not growing?" And she'd bought it by mail. It's one of the native blue willows, and it was girdling itself. The trunks were girdling themselves. I took it all apart, and then it started to grow. But it sat for 3 years doing almost nothing, and so it can have all kinds of problems. But it's not you. It's not because you cut it back. Don't
Good.
don't let those plants tell you that.
Okay, good.
All right. Bernie, the deer ate her daffodils. I have a couple buds left over. I think I lost several clumps. Usually they're up and blooming by now.
They ate the daffodils? They
Yeah,
don't.
that's unusual.
Yeah, they don't normally eat daffodils.
No, they don't. No,
Yeah.
they mowed down the grape hyacinths, but they only got the leaves because the buds come up later. But they ate strange things last year. They ate my sunflowers and stuff, and it's like, why are you eating that? I had baby coneflowers, and they ate coneflowers.
Well, they like sunflowers and coneflowers, the whole aster family. But are you sure they ate the daffodils? My daffodils are only up 2 inches. I mean, they're not up
Well,
to be eaten.
they don't usually grow with a flat top on them. My sister looked at them and goes, they ate the daffodils, and she's not even a master gardener. And I said, they seem to come through and mow just about everything. Usually I don't mind because they kind of do a little yard cleanup. But daffodils was kind of a surprise, and so was the Conan sunflowers because they're kind of picky and they generally don't like those.
Oh no, they generally like those. If they haven't been eating them, it's because no doe taught their fawn to eat those. But they
Well,
need to know
yeah.
the coneflowers are antibiotic. They go for the coneflowers. Up until
They were my little babies. They were getting buds at that second summer, that fake summer that we had. Like after it got cold because the summer was so smoky, nothing grew. So they came through and they ate all my little baby flowers off the plants I was giving to my nephew.
Yep. That's
Okay.
what they're good at doing.
Michelle is asking, are these skunk cabbage?
Yeah, these guys are skunk cabbage coming up. It's not. I don't think that's our native skunk cabbage. I think this was. No,
No,
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know. Priscilla.
Yep.
Priscilla says our normal evergreen clumping bamboo has turned tan over winter. The stems still have some green. Do I wait and see if it pushes out new leaves or cut it to the ground?
I wait and see on those evergreen clumpers because I've seen them come back from they stay tan and get green up further up. So I would wait on it. you have time, because if it's going to come from the base, it's going to come from the base whether the old stuff is there or not. That's too bad. Were you just talking to somebody about bamboo, Steve? Oh yeah, the guy that
Yeah,
the bamboo to plant wildflowers, and
yeah.
yeah, and he's only been clear for 1 year, and he thought he could plant already. I went, no, I don't think so. So not those bamboos.
We'll see.
I'll ask about the bamboo though. With maybe I'll call the director from that San Francisco Botanical Garden that we talked to, Steve, who said that he thought that probably if California fell off into the ocean, they're saying on the fault, he said it would be good because it'd be the only way we'll get rid of all the bamboos that people have planted that they shouldn't have planted here.
Oh, geez.
They're running around like crazy there.
Diane says her vinca ground cover looked a little yellow last year. It still looks less healthy than usual. Should I fertilize it this spring? If so, what should she use?
Fertilizer is all going to depend on what your soil is lacking. I know our soil in this neighborhood is lacking potassium. My neighbor down the street is lacking potassium and phosphorus. But yellow vinca can also mean that there's a problem with the roots. Have you got a problem with a lot of chipmunks or a lot of voles? Could some of the roots be getting eaten on it? Could there be a drainage problem? But I would try doing a little bit of something, and I would use, for me anyway, I would use a slow release natural fertilizer, some kind of organic balanced fertilizer like Garden Tone or Plant Tone. But I would do it in just one part of the garden to see if it made a difference. It won't make a difference until a little later. It won't green up right away. But I don't think you want to put on a water-soluble nitrogen this time of year. It's just going to flow through the soil before the plants are really ready to use it. Yeah.
All right, that's it for questions.
That's it? Okay.
Oh, wait. Well, go ahead, and then we'll catch up.
Okay. We did meet some people out in the field from one of our Garden by Janet and Steve's, and we worked on this panicle hydrangea. I might have shown this to you before. It used to come up at an angle over here, and we let it get a new trunk. That's a new trunk, and we've cut it back. This is Jill's. I didn't take a before picture. I almost forgot all the before pictures while we were out. This is Jill's, but that's kind of what it looked like, and we've cut it back this way. Now, when we cut it back to places where we get strong branches, what we want are strong branches, not a lot of little tiny branches. So when we cut it back, we saw, can you see there? Holes in the stems. And I know a couple other people had asked us about this week. No, panicle hydrangea stems are not normally hollow. And that hollow right there is an indication that there's has a borer in there or has been in there. It could be hydrangea borer, it could be dogwood borer. There's really not a lot of difference, except there's a slight difference on when the adult comes out later in the spring. But here's what's going on. They've eaten their way down through, and that plant, even if the borer is gone, even if that's last year's damage, it's not. It's still got frass that's still moist in here. Frass being excrement that's still moist in here. But even if it was last year's damage, this is a weaker stem now than it was before. And you don't want to depend on your new growth coming from weaker stems. So cut back until you get to good wood. So you might be able to see that this tails off and ends there. So we cut back to good wood and left good wood on the plant. I did not, Nancy and David, find any of the little guys in here. I opened these. They asked me, how do you open the twigs? Well, this time I used a chisel. I set it on the side, clamped it in place, and used a chisel to knock it open. But one of these days, I will find one of these borers in here. Anyway, you want to cut to good wood when you're pruning. Don't leave bad wood up. Don't leave damaged wood up.
Okay, I'm going to skip a couple questions we got to jump ahead. Judith asked 2 hydrangea questions. First, years ago, I planted a lace cap hydrangea way too close to a holly bush that now overshadows it. It survives, but scarcely flowers at all. This year, I pruned out the dead wood and cut a scraggly live branches that got broken under the snow. Excuse me. I'm wondering whether I can prune it further and whether I can dig it up and transplant it to a sunnier space in its current pathetic condition. What do you think?
I would dig it
Other
up.
question later.
I would dig it up and put it in a better place. When people say,
100% agree.
yeah, when people say it wasn't doing well, will it be okay if I move it? It's going to do better when you move it. So move it, give it into a better place so it can grow back. Because if the holly was shading it or something else was shading it, the shade is still there and it's going to subdue the plant's response. Get it into a good place and move it now. Move it right now. Go out there and dig it up. Yeah.
Take as big as a root ball as you can. Connie says the English gardens got their fall bulbs real late last fall and ended up giving them away for pennies on a dollar. I bought 3 dozen and kept them in a root cellar over winter. They are now growing. I potted them up, but have just a few that have a mold on them. Is there something to use to treat them, or should I just throw those few away?
If there's mold on them and it's blue mold, just let it be. There's nothing wrong with that. If they're soft, if you're seeing mold and when you hold it like you'd hold an onion out of your crisper drawer or your basket where you have your onions and garlic, if it's soft, throw it away. But if it's firm, it doesn't matter if it's got some mold on it. It really doesn't. Put it in the ground and just grow it, or put it in your pot and just grow it. Yep.
Susanna's asking, a few weeks ago you mentioned a tree that could be maintained as a shrub/hedge, and it holds its gold-colored leaves well into the winter. Do you remember the name?
It must have been talking about the euonymus with the variegated leaves on it that we used some pieces of it at the Waterford Library as part of our decoration. And it is a vine, but it's got a sturdy stem, so you can train it to have a stem that stays thick enough to hold it up, and you can make a little tree out of it, or you can grow it as a hedge. So that'd be Euonymus fortunii. Euonymus is EUONYMUS. 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 And named for Robert Fortune, so it's fortunii. And there's lots of different colors of it. We like the one called Gold Spot, but there's also green and gold and Emerald Surprise. And
I think it was a beach. I think that's, as Michelle is suggesting, it was a beach.
The beach that has
it's
the
kept
way it
small.
holds
Yeah.
its fall
oh,
color.
right.
A deciduous plant that holds its gold leaves well into the fall.
Okay, I would call it more. We kind of like the pinky salmon that it turns in the winter and it holds on to the juvenile leaves. So the more that you prune it and keep it as a hedge, the more leaves that it holds through the winter because it has more juvenile wood coming all the time.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Good job, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle. Oh, speaking of which, you know what I forgot to put in? I forgot to put the bees in. Shoot. Okay. We're going to merge from pictures here for a minute. There is a special this week will be on March 31st will be on the National Geographic Channel. Is it Professor Ramsey that's on, Michelle? And she said he's wonderful. It's a 2-part series, and after it runs on National Geographic, it's going to move to Disney Plus as of the 1st of April. And it would be if you are interested in bees, it sounds like it's going to be a real good one to watch.
Yes, Michelle says yes.
Ramsey, okay.
Okay. Suzanne has a hand up.
Oh, okay.
Since I know my son and many other people are going to be losing their boxwoods this year, I'm looking for a substitute that would be an interesting hedge, in front of the house, to replace the boxwoods. That's why I was interested in the beech.
Yeah, you are. It is interesting, but it takes. That's something you definitely have to keep cutting for sure. And it's not going to be evergreen. It will have color to it, but it won't be evergreen. Now, we said when we first started dealing with the boxwood tree moth, we went, okay, forget the boxwood. Ohio State And a while ago, we covered this, had some new bulletins. Ohio State did some testing, and they're saying, hold off. It could be that with one well-timed intervention in the spring, whether that's with a pesticide or a insecticidal soap or something to kill the caterpillars, that it looks like we can probably keep them at bay. That they wiped through Europe as quickly as they could because there were so many wild boxwoods that they could feed on, whereas here it's landscape to landscape. So we might not have to give up our boxwoods. If we are looking for substitutes, there are a couple of problems. One, there's not very many broad-leafed evergreens that do well in the variety conditions that the boxwood does, and that's been a good thing for us. The boxwood's been good for us for that. The inkberry, Ilex glabra, is a good. A lot of people can't tell the difference when they walk up to it. The inkberry, it's a holly relative with blackberries on it if it forms berries. It's not as good in the shade, but otherwise it looks just like a boxwood. The big problem with it, and I heard just this week from someone, she said, I can't find them anywhere. Right now, boxwood is a mainstay of the nursery production system, and there are millions of them, literally millions of them produced every year. There's not millions of Ilex glabra produced every year because there hasn't been a demand for it. And it takes a while for this big machine that is the production nurseries that grow them little and then send them to the bigger nursery where they finish them off, that send them to the retail nursery that pot them and sell them to you. So there may be a big lag here because this kind of came in on us fast. So you might want to start with small plants from somebody that is further in the beginning of that production system.
Diane, does our photo of the purple crocuses look just like her, in quotations, ruby giant crocuses? Should be named purple giant. I can't see any ruby.
Yeah.
Don't your rabbits eat those purple crocuses for you? I had to move mine inside my backyard fence.
Yeah.
We've had rabbits in the neighborhood at times, but lately not very many.
We have coyotes, and the coyotes have done a number on the rabbits. But yes, they normally eat those, and when they come through, they mow them down. So do the deer. But if this year they haven't been out there eating them, maybe they've had other things to eat. Maybe we just have another one of the low rabbit numbers years. But since I put them out there, I would say probably only 1 year out of 3, those have gotten eaten to where we don't see them. For the most part, they're there and they're good. Yeah, protection from rabbits.
Yeah, Judith says we're welcome to hers.
Okay. So Nancy and David came out, and Suzanne was coming out, except we had to change the timing for the weather a little bit. We're doing Garden by Janet and Steve. We'd really like you to come out. We were working on this Japanese maple, which is needs to be kept small and also has some dead spots in it. When we first got out, it had rained a little bit and it was misty, moisty. So we weren't going to prune. Instead, we were marking for April, whose tree it is, all the places where we would cut.
Yeah, those weren't Christmas lights left by mistake.
No. And it was interesting to do because we talked about it. Okay, where would you cut this one? Where would you cut that one? Someone asked when we said we were going to start doing these again, take a video. We had no one to take a video, so we did take some pictures. But there is the problem with videos that it's still a flat picture. Unless you can stand there where David is and look at it from this angle and step that way and then step this way, you really are not, you need to come out and see these things in 3 dimensions. Even if we had somebody with a video, it wouldn't have worked that way. So what we did is made it into a tree and kept it smaller. You might be able to see we've taken away the lower hanging branches so we can see the trunk. We've taken away some of there was some damaged wood in the center that, back in one of our pruning classes, I showed you this tree when I first got started with it, and it had some damage that I took out, and I took out the rest of it now. So we cut it back to make it a tree. And we also cut it back to make it stay in the bed. See, it's out over the lawn here. And we reduced those branches. And so every one of the main branches we left, we shortened so that the plant can stay for a while longer in the space that it is. That's a waterfall Japanese maple. It's one of the ones that it's green leafed in the spring, in the summertime, and then it turns a brilliant orange in the fall.
Yeah, and I've seen them 6 foot wide,
Yeah,
allowed to grow.
yeah. But if you come out, all this stuff is on our calendar. If you come out, you can put your hands in, you can bring your tools, you can see how these things are done. Just on the homepage, it's click on Meet Us in the Field or where we're appearing, or click on Webinars and Workshops. Either one's going to take you to our workshop page where you can pick a date on the calendar and say, where are they going to be on this date? I've got April 6th free. You can click on April 6th and it'll take you to the listing that says where we're going to be on April 6th and what we're doing. But you need to let us know that you're going to be there because we have to have a list of telephone numbers we can call to say, okay, it's going to rain tomorrow, so we're going to move to this day, or it's going to be X the temperature is going to change at a certain time and we'll change our time a little bit. We do need to be able to flex for the weather. But it's fun to do. And I keep a spreadsheet that says, okay, who called and what phone number do I get a hold of them at, so that we can do things like move a tree. I mean, they're just fun things to do. And yes, we're taking projects from people. We've moved our renovating the perennial bed over to April 9th because it was still snow on the ground in this place. But people call or tell us about a project that they've got, and we say, okay, we can fit it in. We'll do that. It's either fitted in or not fitted in. So let us know what you've got going on, and please check that page and see if you want to come out to where we're going to be. Most of the stuff that we've got is in Southeast Michigan, but that one that we moved to April 9th is in Clare. That's in the middle of the mitten. We're looking with Anne at a date up in the Traverse area in late May or early June. So let us know.
Suzanne said, looks like we moved a lot of the small branches in that maple. When you remove some of the big pieces first, it takes out an amazing number of the smaller ones.
Yes, it does. What we did is we took out branches. Let's go back there. We took out branches that were not well placed. So this branch, for instance, had 3 branches all going in the same area, covering the same space. And we when we shortened it, we took out one of those branches. That took away all of its secondary branches too. So every time we took one of these out, and we did see this branch, this branch. I'm not sure if you can see where my pointer is, but I'm pointing to a main branch going back that way. That's good. We tell that part of the tree, you go cover that part of the tree. But it sprouted a branch that came back to the front. We went, no, we don't want you in the front. You need to cover the backside. So we took that branch off at that point, and that took all of its little stuff off too. Plus, there was a buildup of some dead wood in the center from some of the weaker branches. Okay, let's get past this.
Suzanne also asked, is she on the schedule yet?
If this is Suzanne with the viburnums and your hollies, yes. I didn't give you the date. Suzanne, I think it's coming up.
No, you did not give me the date.
Oh shoot! I will. I'll check the calendar. But yes, you're on the schedule.
I better be here. Okay.
I am very sorry.
Oh, we apologize.
Yeah, I thought I'd called everybody or let everybody know, but there you go. This is why it helps to check the calendar and see. I got a question about a double file viburnum, and that question led me to come up with a thought that sometimes the problem isn't how to prune something, it's that original plant choice was a poor one. Donna has been working for the city. It's south of where she lives, but she's begun gardening for the city. She said, I have these double file viburnums right next to the building, and they've been sheared relentlessly, and I'd like to open them up. How far back can I cut them? How far back should I cut them? These are double file viburnums, and they shouldn't be looking like this, not at all. And they get weaker and weaker wood, like anything that's sheared repeatedly. They get weaker and weaker wood as they get smaller and smaller stuff. You also may be able to see the black inside. You see it, Steve, right?
Yep.
This is sooty.
Not the shadowing,
This is sooty mold. Sooty mold is a fungus. It's not actually infecting the plant. It is growing on the drips of excrement that have come off of sucking insects further up on the plant. So the insects are up here sucking, they pass the extra that they don't use, just like making maple syrup. Some of it becomes excess and goes away. It drips on there, fungus can grow on it. That's indicating that these also have an insect problem. And they would have with all of that dense area there. But that's not the habit that double file should have. And yes, I would cut it back to cut at least some of the branches I would take back beyond where they've begun branching out that way in order to let them grow again. But that leaves you with the viburnum problem. All the viburnums, double file maybe more so than the other viburnums, are not happy plants kept small. They want to shoot out at great rate when they grow. Now the double file is a beautiful plant, and it's called double file because it has a double file, a double row, flower on this side, flower on this side, flower on this side, flower. It has a
Leaf two.
Yep, it's a double.
Leaf two, stems two.
Yep, and it's also called the wedding cake shrub because it layers itself. See the branch laying out with that double file of flowers on it all down the branch? And then there's a double file of berries. They're just gorgeous plants, but they need to have that habit in order to do that. And they want to grow that way and grow. And that's one plant. There's actually two in there, but you're looking at mostly one double file viburnum. It's 2 stories tall. And they're just, when they're low, they're just gorgeous. Every single one of these layers is white with the flowers and then red with the berries. But if you've got to keep them cut, these kinds of things happen. This is a different kind of viburnum. This is leatherleaf viburnum, or it's one of the leatherleaf hybrids. And I've cut it in the spring, and now we have to cut it again because it wants to be bigger and it's going to throw shoots up like crazy. So we cut those off later, and that's an extra bunch of cutting, and it's specialized cutting. It's somebody who needs to know to go and just cut those off, not cut off the rest of the things you left there. So they're not easy plants to do. I'd go ahead, cut back beyond where the branching has happened on some of the branches, let them start growing back, prune them again, as I did with these in the middle of summer, prune the pieces off, and see if you can get a little more light in there, a little less sucking insect, a little less clutter. I know the gardener was worried that because it's in a municipal place, that if she cuts them hard, there's going to be complaints to the city. I'm here to tell you that if you cut them before they get leaves on them, generally nobody notices. They just don't. I've cut things all the way to the ground and people don't notice that they're gone. So do them before they leaf out. You're going to get a better response anyway. Here's double file viburnum that were crowded in along the fence with witch hazel is on one side. I can't even remember all the shrubs.
Dwarf lilac.
Yeah, dwarf lilac on the other side. But this is the double file viburnum seen with just the branches in there. And I am explaining to Julie what we're going to do to this. We're going to take out some of these that have just been growing all crazy, trying to layer, but not able to layer. We're going to take out some of those branches. You might be able to tell between this and this that I've removed some of the main canes. So I went the wrong way. There, I've removed some of the main canes. Once we remove the main canes, before they leafed out, we let them sucker. So this is what viburnums want. We let them give us new branches. We said, okay, good. And we thinned those out to become the new branches. We're going to take out some of this weak distorted wood that's been clipped back and subverted from growing for a while. And year by year, as these get bigger and begin to get side branches on them, they're beginning to layer themselves. Now I'm reaching in and sawing out the rest of these so that we end up with just the plant blooming again. And this is a client that we only see a couple times a year when we were down there, and it's in Ohio. So I wasn't there when it bloomed afterwards to show you the same plant in bloom. But it takes time to get a viburnum back in the shape that's been beat up. Not much better answer than that. These are so cool. They don't even look real.
Arena's had a hand up for a while. Sorry about that, Arena.
Oh, sorry, Arena.
Go ahead.
Oh, she's planting onions that sprouted. I've done that so many times, and I think it's just fun. Yes, you can put them in the ground right now. Take the onions out of whether they've sprouted or not. You can put them in the ground. They may not sprout as quickly bought from the grocery store as bought from a nursery because mostly from the grocery store they've been treated with a growth retardant at some point in the process in order to keep them from sprouting. I mean, I know they sprout eventually as they wear it out, but they will grow. So you can put them out there now.
They all sprouted already. And I'm growing them in like jars with water. And I plant them because I really like how they bloom. And
Yeah.
then in the fall, I can harvest the buds. But
Yeah.
it's not what I'm asking. Thank you. So I can put them in now. It's not too early. They're not going to freeze anymore.
It's not too early. If they've come up a long way, where you're going to have to leave the leaves out of the ground, those leaves might get bit back, and you might want to put a couple evergreen boughs by them. But if they've just sprouted and they've just got a little sprout, just
Like
bury
about
it.
4 inches, yeah.
Yeah, just bury it. Yeah.
So my question was about that maple, because I have a Japanese maple, and that I need to be pruned because it's really turned into a bush. It's this kind of very, very lacy, like maple. It's very pretty in spring, and then in summer, I think it starts burning, and that's what my question is. So it grows right next to the door, and it's an east-facing exposure, which I thought should be fine for the Japanese maple. But it looks that the top branches bending towards the building instead of going towards the south. And I was just concerned that they go away from the sun to avoid being burned. And in this case, should I move it?
Well, if the plant's losing buds to exposure, and that can happen, leaving it only the buds going toward the building, then it would grow toward the building. And although we tend to think in terms of east exposure should be good, west exposure is more exposed, there's a lot more that goes into it. The east side of our house, which is kind of it's not quite straight east. The east side of our house is the windiest place we've got because of a break in the trees over to the west of us. So it could be that you've got a swirl going on there, and that swirl is discouraging the buds from forming on the outside of the plant where you want it to grow, or even killing them in the wintertime. So should you move it? I would. When it's being deformed by the position or the position or its own tendencies, get in a new place. It's just not worth fighting, I think, anyway.
Do you think I can dig it up? It's been there. I planted it 5 years ago. So the trunk is about, I'd say, 1 3/4 or 2 inches thick.
I can assure you can move it if you are determined to move it. Steve took a group of people out years ago and remember moving Renata's Japanese maple?
Yep.
And
Yep.
it was a good sized tree. I moved Pam Palachek's tree. She was an instructor at our school, and she was moving to another house, and she had one the size that you saw there at April's house, the one that we showed pruning a little while ago.
Yep.
And I just dug around the tree until I found the roots and cut the main roots where I could handle them and moved it bare root. And I said it'll make it or it won't make it, and it made it. So it's up to you how much work you want to put into doing it. But I've always been surprised at how big something it can be, and yet we can still move it around.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Suzanne quickly asked, do you remove them back to the trunk, the big branches on the Japanese maple? On the ones that you went back to where you wanted to see the trunk, yes, but others you might not have taken it all the way
Yes.
back.
Some we took all the way back. Most of these, maybe, I think it was 4 years ago when I first worked on the tree for April. So I'd already taken a few things back and left some things to say that once this tree develops, I think we're going to take this branch out because it goes in the wrong place. And we took those out. But it's always a matter of, for me anyway, it's always a matter of looking at one main branch at a time. I look at the trunk and I look at this main branch. I follow where it goes and decide whether or not it's a good branch. Does it fill the area we want? Is it going to be, can I manage it? Can I cut it back some to make it shorter and still have it be graceful? And so sometimes I'm taking them way back off, and sometimes I'm taking them just shortening them. But it's always a stand and look, and you're more than welcome to come with us when we do some of these things.
Go back to the question picture.
So this one?
Yeah. Diane, what buds are we looking at here in your screen? Isn't it so exciting out there right now? New plants emerging everywhere and all the beauty yet to come.
Yeah, it is. It's wonderful. It's like Christmas. These are Erimerus, or I think actually the correct pronunciation is Erimerus. This is foxtail lily or desert candle, but I like Erimerus because I go Erimerus, Erimerus, Erimerus. These are going to be 6 feet tall, blooming in June, and then they die back. They're dormant. I grow them with butterfly bushes in between them so that the butterfly bush comes up and covers them. And they need a very sandy soil and lots of sun. They're native to, well, desert candle. They're native to high desert in Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, that part of the world. So no extra moisture sitting on their roots and no disturbance. They're not, although we think of them as a bulb because they go dormant, they're actually a fleshy root that's fairly shallow. So you can't go digging in there all the time. That's why I put butterfly bush with them. I just cut the butterfly bush back. It's out of the way. It's gone. These are the stems from last year. When I cut them down, I chop up the stems and just leave them lay there. Stems of the Erimerus.
Judith has a hand up.
Oh, okay, Judith.
Hi. Hi, thank you. I tried to send this to you in the chat, and suddenly the message just went horizontal instead of vertical, and I can't figure out how to get it back. So just ask. If
Welcome
anybody knows,
to my
let me know.
world.
That's right. We're all in the same place. I don't know what just happened here. Yeah.
What did my phone just do?
Okay. So here's my other hydrangea problem, and it comes on the heels of our discussion last week about bunnies
Oh, I
chewing
have a
down
picture.
bark.
I put your picture in, the one that you just sent this afternoon. I was
Oh, yeah,
putting it in
yeah,
before we got
okay.
going, so let me see if I can find it.
Oh, okay. Well, then I won't ask you. Oh, okay.
Okay, it's coming up. Yes, your poor chewed hydrangea. Yes.
We're
My poor.
right around 10 minutes. So
Okay, then we're gonna hustle through. If you got a book for the list, send it to me. Nancy sent a book called the Sioux Chef's Indigenous Kitchen Cookbook, and it points out that before Europeans got here, there was no sugar, there was no wheat product, there was no dairy, and so these are recipes that go, and so we put it on our book club list. Even if you can't come to book club with us, if you want the book club list, we'll send it to you because it's got lots of things. I'm just putting this one on. I was looking at a shelf at the soil conservation districts, and I saw forage for mushrooms without dying. Yes. This answers the question that everybody has. I don't want to eat something that, anyway, we put that one on the list. When winter's taken a toll, so here's Judith's crabapple. No, I said no. That's way too much damage to be trying to fix. That tree that's toast, and the roses are not toast. They'll sprout if you cut them back. Those will come from the base. If they're hybrid, if they're climbing roses or they're old shrub roses, and it doesn't look like they're old shrub roses, you'll lose the bloom this year. But these look like they're probably hybrid teas, and they'll come up and still bloom this year. Just cut them back hard because it's too much.
No, actually,
Yeah.
I sent you different pictures this afternoon, and one of them was of the rabbits doing the same thing to my very best hydrangea.
And that's this one.
Fire.
And that's this one, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and this is also too much damage. If I look closer at this, they've girdled the stem between taking the wood off, the bark and the cambium off here, and then eating the underside. It's girdled, but you can cut this all the way back, and it will come back. This is new wood that came last year, and that's going to come from the crown. This one's kind of crowded at the bottom. It could be that it's girdled itself, like this branch has come out and it's girdling other branches, so it might actually benefit from cutting it back. But that'll be 3 or 4 feet tall in 1 year, as long as the location is decent. If it was shaded by something, it might take longer. But go ahead and cut it back. You're going to get.
Loves it. So down to the ground?
Yep, just cut it right down. Just saw it off. Take the weight off the branches, and then saw what you can off of there. And any of them that are wrapped around each other and growing into each other, cut them back further. Take them off so they're not competing with each other. And try not to get upset about things that die back. I mean, sometimes butterfly bush dies back, and it just does. But it comes back from the base. Sometimes lavender dies back. Our lavender at the library, the salt got to it. Now that they've raised our bed one more block up the side, so far it doesn't look like we're having any damage on our lavender. And the woody plants are the woody subshrubs, the lavender, the thyme, the sage, the germander. They bother people. This is Diane's culinary thyme, and she said, "What do you do with it? I've been cutting back by half so that I still have branches to use for the garden, for the kitchen, and come back again." We've got on the website, it's called Sage Advice. And if you put in prune lavender or prune sage, you would get this. But here's lavender. I can cut the lavender back, and I do. I cut those lavenders all the way back so that lavender right there is all laying on the ground. And it's just cut. I just cut it all the way back down to the bottom. And I'm cutting it down to where, do you see the little buds? That's all it needs. And they come back like 60. You're talking about something that I cut every single year to the ground and gets as big as it was before I cut it. And it's going to get as big again and get better wood because it doesn't get these cankers. This is actually an infection on there, which makes the branch weaker before its time. Sage is the same way. Thyme is the same way. They're Mediterranean herbs that don't like our hot, humid summers. So I cut this sage all the way back. There's the sage. There's the sage. It's gone. It's just, all that's left is the buds at the base. And I've taken out chunks like this because they are sick. Here's an early infection on the younger stem, and then they get worse and it gets weaker. Take them back, get new branches. So I just cut this morning our Burr Garden sage back. This is cut pieces. This used to be Burr Garden sage all the way down to here, and I just cut the whole thing. It's gone. It's gone. 10 foot across that one Burr Garden has been. I end up with a lot.
What did we put in? 3 plants?
No, 1 plant initially. Just
one, that's right.
And then I buried a couple of the branches as it was to the side. But look, there's plenty of leaves that I can harvest and take inside. That's customary sage. So with the thyme, you can take those inside right now and they'll last just like any thyme that you put in a jar. But if you look down into the center of this one, into this part here, there's really old wood in there. And regardless of where that goes to and what it's I would cut that back because there's little branches. See the leaves right there? I'm sticking my nose right in the screen. There are little branches with leaves. Cut back to those leaves. You'll be surprised at how quickly it comes back. But growing on weak wood like that, you're just never going to see as much growth as you would on the stronger wood. So cut the wood back. And if you want to leave a couple of branches and just bury them so that they'll root, then you get a bigger plant quicker. Because this piece of Burr Garden sage just rooted off to the side, growing in thalamium, dead nettle.
Sue loves the combination of Erimeris with Allium Globemaster.
Oh yeah, they're great. Rockets and what do we call those? Rockets and bombs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Suzanne,
quick question: do sage and thyme require the same growing conditions as lavender?
Yes, they do. Sun. Okay. Good drainage.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to go through a couple of beginnings of design things. People have asked, can we look at design? Oh, I'd love it if we look at design. But it's a longer process, and I need to take you through it a little bit at a time. So I'm going to show you 2 design issues here. This is Nancy and David's house, and they're looking at having taken some evergreen trees out of the front. They've been redoing the part near the house and have a lot of different evergreens and interesting shapes in there. They're pruners, so they can keep things small. but they put an Orangeola Japanese maple here, and it didn't do well. It didn't do well probably in part because that's due west, and they're at the top of a hill where they live in Troy. It is very windy. It comes screaming down the street. Not a good place in the wind for a Japanese maple. Even the one in the courtyard where this little wall we thought might give it some protection has some problems. And actually, when I think about that, I should have said the downwind side of a wall. So the wind comes from over here and comes across. The downwind side becomes a sink. There's a whirl right next to it. There's protection from that wall, but it's probably out here further. So looking at the house, when I'm looking at design, before I get into which kinds of plants, I talk to people about what the look is they're looking for. And if you're trying to balance the house, which is one of the things they said they're trying to do, then I look at what's the mass I'm trying to balance. I'm trying to balance something about like that. So something about that size on the other side of the house would balance it. And it doesn't have to be back, even with the house, it can be forward. In fact, the more forward it is, the more asymmetrical and less mirror image you need to make something. But they like the idea of no roots in the driveway because they've had a problem with that. They like the weeping effect and something purple or dark. Thinking about plants with those parameters and starting to make a plant list, what could be there? I'm looking at the plant has to serve the site first. So first I have to find some things that say, yes, I will grow on that site. And then I can go backwards through the list and say, not lift the driveway, weeping, purple. I come up with 3 to start thinking about. Weeping pea shrub. This is a Siberian pea tree, grafted on a trunk so that it weeps. They do need to be pruned because they'll weep right to the ground. You can see some of the pictures where they go right to the ground. They're very pretty when they bloom yellow, and that's pretty much it. They don't have any fall color, but keeping them pruned so that you can see the shape of the weeper is kind of cool. I like the ones we've taken care of. Another option would be juniper. Juniper is very good in the wind, and there are a number of junipers that can be grafted like this blue chip. Oh, it's right over here. Blue chip juniper grafted to a standard, so I can make them into cool little trees, kind of a full-size bonsai if you want it. And you take a look at those because they're there. Another is the Sargentina crab. Sargent crab is a small crab apple. It has a compact version called Tina, and they call it the Sargentina crab. It's too bad we didn't go into the backyard there where we were doing the Japanese maple because she has one, but they grow about 5-6 feet around, and they have beautiful fruit that stays on in the wintertime. They have fragrant flowers in the springtime. They're very good in the wind and the cold change in temperature. So you might want to take something like that, and we're going to borrow, who do we borrow here? Borrowed somebody's picture. Fort Wayne trees. We said, Fort Wayne trees, we're going to take your picture, and we're going to plop that into our yard and see what that would look like. So you start with what you're trying to accomplish, and then start making your plant list one plant at a time of what can work. And I'd have you go look at those 3 to start with. Worry about where they go later and what goes with them later. Meanwhile, design number 2 came from Bernie. What do you do with the water? It's wet, she said. It's my nephew's yard. The water comes off of the garage. It floods this area. They've got big dogs. They come out, they get their paws muddy, they come back in the house. There's got to be a way to control this water. What can we
Yeah.
let me go through the process, Bernie, and then we can talk with the time that we've got left. The first thing that I ask in a design when somebody says what they want, they're young men, they got lots of energy and they can do this. They do have dogs. They can move the fire pit. They're worried about having to deal with the mud in the house. They don't know plants yet, so they're not talking about plants. We're just talking now about what do you want to do in the yard and how's it going to work. I would be pulling that water away from the garage and making a rain garden over toward this corner. And that's going to require shooting a level in the yard to find out where does the yard drain to and how much do I have to bring it down. And it'll also involve taking the area of the roof and saying how big is that roof, how much water lands on that roof in an inch rainfall, and making this rain garden big enough to accept that much water to fall in. Because of the dogs, it also means making that rain garden away from the fence by a couple of feet. so that the dogs have a place to run along the fence, because they're going to run along the fence. That's rather than running through the garden. Once you figure that out, where the water is going to go, because water is first, water has got to be handled first. Then we could say maybe we can keep this area dry with a berm over here. We can use some of the soil that we take out to make it a rain garden to berm up and keep the water from coming over here. Maybe that becomes a space that's planted. That depends on what else they want to do in the yard. Bernie said that they also are thinking about maybe putting a door into the garage. In that case, there might be a walkway that comes out here. And the placement of those things all comes before figuring out where plants go. We're talking about site design. And it might mean once you figure out how many people are going to sit in your yard, how much room do you need around the fire pit, maybe it needs to move forward and one side. But before you worry about what gets planted here, we need to talk about these options. And so where Bernie suggested that this might be a good garden by Janet and Steve to go out and talk, this is what we'd be talking about first. And if you want to set up to say, okay, we'll talk about that with the people in a particular place first, and then we'll call Janet and Steve to come out. If we can get a group to come out there, good, let's go do it. Okay, Bernie, what do you got to say?
I was just going to say, I sent you a few more pictures, like the ones with the big puddles still there and stuff. The garage is, well, he faces the east, so it would get the
Forget which way it faces. Forget what kind of sun it's got. Forget what kind of plants grow there. We need to get the spaces figured out first. What do we need to use the space for? How many people sit in the yard? Will the dogs come out and go out this way and go around? Those things have to get worked out first, or else we're just beating our heads against the wall.
Well, you were spot on about them running along the fence. It's called the Squirrel Highway.
Sure, yeah. I know that. I've been in enough yards to know that you do not stop dogs. Even if people say it's a privacy fence, doesn't matter. They're sniffing through the bottom part and they're hearing through the fence. So yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
So we're asking people to do some legwork ahead of time. If we were talking about design things, we want to talk about design things. They're a lot more fun to talk about than hydrangea borer and boxwood tree moth. But they take some thinking through these processes. You might want to take a look at our book, Designing Your Gardens and Landscapes, that's got the steps in it, to see that you can get some of that information together for us, and we can take it from there. We can move forward as we go. So you need to talk to your nephews and figure that kind of stuff out first.
Okay. Diane's has a question. I have a lot of very dense Deutzia plants that need to be thinned. Can I thin them after they bloom this spring, or should I cut them back now?
You can definitely thin them out after they bloom. It's just a little harder to get in there and do that when they've got leaves and things, and if they're leafing out and getting in the way. But I've cut Deutzia many times. Deutzia gracilis Nico, the one that kind of grows as a low ground cover. It's a very pretty plant, and I like to see it bloom. And then right after it blooms, I cut it back hard because we want it to bloom as much as it can. And it doesn't seem to make too much difference for that plant which way it grows. So you can do it now where it's easier to see inside it, or you can do it later.
Okay. It's almost 8 after 8.
Oh, well, then we need to get going here. Another week goes by. So that's it for this Free-for-All Friday. If you've got questions, send them to me. Send pictures with them. Send them to Steve. Yep.
Try not to send them on Friday. We're really busy getting this together. Janet realizes she needs question pictures. I check the email, but we only have so much time.
Yeah. We actually have told people to send them by Thursday, but I'm always squeezing them in when they come in on Friday. The next Free-for-All Friday.
Of course you do. That's why they keep sending them in on Friday.
I know. I just consider it a challenge. The next Free-for-All Friday is April 3rd, a week from now. And we'll be glad to see you then. And I bet you it's going to be spring. Much more recognizable spring.
Thank you all very much. Ta for now.